Okay, let's check everything out. Make sure we're good. We're good there. We're good there. Beautiful. And then announcement. Give me 2 seconds. All right, we are back again. We'll see the fun stuff we have today. Yeah, I think we're just gonna work on a few of the documents mostly. And we'll go from there. I think that, let's see here. Let's get some of these going. But yeah, obviously, the topic of the stream, which is going to stay the consistent topic for a little bit. At least the next several streams, going to be God Isn't Real. Obviously, we're looking for theists, particularly Christians, Muslims, Hindus, preferably Christians and Muslims, or just like, I'm okay with general theists as well, to go ahead and have a conversation here. And also, of course, it seems like the other ops here seem to be the good old-fashioned hardcore socialists. Not even like traditional Marxists, but it seems like we've had past couple streams a couple of angry like post-Marxist types, so they're welcome to hop in if they disagree with me as well. They seem to freak out a lot, so we'll see if we get more of them. But obviously the main topic, main people we're looking for is going to be your Muslims and Christians, your general theists, to hop into the Discord and the link in the description, and if they think they can change my mind on God. So yeah. Hey, what's up, ML Carlson? How's it going? Hope your day is going fantastic. Hope everyone's day is going fantastic. Every day that you're alive is a great day. Keep that in mind. And always remember that your day, every day that you're alive is good. So, but yeah, we'll see. Sometimes it seems like the other main ops here seem to be the hardcore socialists as well. So even though that's not the main topic of the stream, we'll probably end up with a few of them as well. So if you're a hardcore socialist and you disagree with capitalism altogether, feel free to hop into the Discord as well. My name is weird for you that I'm Swedish. Oh, that's why. Yeah, I'm definitely any sort of Nordic name I'm gonna struggle with. Those the pronunciations from the Nordic languages are a little bit difficult. So yeah, I mean, you would have to phonetically sound it out for me to get it right. I just suck at those. I could speak English and pronounce common English names and some of the Spanish names as well, but once you start getting like Nordic, and I'm gonna struggle. So I apologize if I mispronounce your name, especially from any of those countries. You know, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland, any of those places, I'm gonna struggle. Kind of tricky. Probably even like, I know a little bit of Spanish, and I've been trying to learn more. I use Spanish a lot in construction, so yeah, learning and getting more fluent in Spanish is going to be a goal, so we'll look for some more Spanish speakers at some point. But yeah, again, we're mostly just looking for, with the topic today, people who are theists. Feel free to hop into the Discord if you disagree that, you know, with me being an atheist, think you could change my mind. I'm an ex-Christian. I was on like an agnostic bend and almost became a Muslim as well. So if you think I missed something or am just in general incorrect, feel free. If you have strong opinions or would like to convert someone, feel free. The big thing as well, we're also always looking for socialists. They seem to be big ops as well, but I'm not even talking about like classical Marxists. If you're like a full-on like post-Marxist or like hyper-modern Marxist, feel free to jump in as well. I think that they're the current ops at this point. Seem to cause a lot of issues. You know, seems like being a liberal. The other day I got called a right-wing jerk-off, so we'll see. If you think simply me being a liberal is enough as well, you can hop in as well. I disagree with all the continental philosophies, so if you hold one of those, if you're like a post-Marxist type and you think money's made by the white man, feel free. I think that's absurd, but do what you're gonna do, I guess. Maybe you could convince me. I've had quite the journey in terms of religion, so at least in terms of like the monotheistic religions, I've never had a conversion or close conversion to Hinduism in my life, so maybe more Eastern religious people, people that believe in like Hinduism and stuff like that could give it a go. I just don't seem to accept the idea of the Brahmin either. Hola, soy fan. Hey, how's it going, Roblox? Glad to hear that. I'm assuming, I don't know if you're saying you're a fan. If you are, great. Or if that's your name, awesome. I know soy means I am. I know that much Spanish. It's been a minute. I'm learning a bit more because I have a lot of Spanish-speaking co-workers, so it's good to learn. So yeah, it's a great day to be alive. I had a comment, someone asking me to give a refutation of the cosmological argument. The argument against cosmological argument, if anyone's interested or thinks I'm wrong on this, I think it's just defeated by eternalism. You know, and essentially eternalism is just the view that the universe always existed. And I basically think that's logically valid. I think it's the case that time has always existed, or at least it seems to be that time is a brute fact, and it's impossible to not have time at any point. So basically the argument with that is that time is the dimension in which all change to objects occur. The state of there not being time would have to change to there being time in order for time to come into existence, which would require the existence of time, at least time in order for time to come into existence. So it seems self-evident, which would mean that it's eternal, or at least that it's approaching non-existence and never reaches it. Same thing that the common argument for God would be is just that he has no beginning. He approaches having a beginning, but never actually reaches it. I think you just do the same thing with time, and there's other things as well, like the ability to be real. I think is self-evident, because in order for the state of things not being able to be real, it would need the ability to be real. I know that sounds like a lot of words, but it's basically just another brute fact. I'm open to a refutation of that. I think if you could demonstrate that there's a brute fact present in God that's more sensible than that brute fact, I'm open to it. I just think that there are brute facts, so you're going to have to deal in brute fact to convince me out of it, or convince me you ought not think in brute fact, which I think the existence of brute facts is a brute fact. So yeah, I think that you would need to have it be a brute fact that brute facts don't exist in order to disprove brute facts' existence. But, you know, open to change on that. It ultimately is just going to come down to your take on that. Hey, what's up, Wyrus? How's it going? Throw a heart back. What's up? Glad you could be out today. Welcome, everyone. Battle Robux? No, I don't want no... Don't need no Robux. Don't pay for Roblox. Keep it free. I don't know, I guess if you really want Robux. No, I'm not gonna. I don't think you should ever pay for Robux, ever. If you're a Roblox fan, don't ever do that. But yeah, I think generally, that's the refutation. For the person that left the DM, I think that the cosmological argument is just refuted through eternalism. I think if you even look historically, I think that in like, it might have been like the 1300s, there was a big set of a big inquisition, or basically like church court against against people that believed in eternalism. So I think that's a pretty strong argument. I think it's something that even the church was a little bit scared of. So you know, I think that's your answer in refutation if you're looking for one against cosmological argument. I don't think that's the most convincing one. Yeah, I think you just adopt eternalism and it kind of struggles. And I don't think I've ever heard a brute fact that solves eternalism, because the brute fact is usually just God, and God is eternal. So you just have another eternal thing external to the non-eternal thing. It kind of gets wacky. gets wacky fast, so not a big fan of it. Now, I think if you're wanting like a good faith, like good argument, I think you're gonna want you're gonna want to use the teleological argument, I guess, if you're looking for a good faith argument to use, or like if you want my opinion on the most difficult argument there. The teleological gets a little bit complicated, particularly fine-tuning. And I think a lot of even like the new atheist types, Dawkins and stuff, all agreed with that. It was just a tricky thing because the four natural forces, the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, gravity, and the electromagnetic force are all very, very strange. Like, if they didn't work the way that they did, you wouldn't get anything that we have in reality, or you would end up with like for instance, if you didn't have gravity or the electromagnetic force, you would probably end up with like matter that would infinitely repel from each other. So like reality would look very, very strange, or like we certainly wouldn't develop if like all of our particles in us shot out from ourselves and didn't want to stay put. So you certainly need like the strong nuclear force and gravity and probably the electromagnetic force. Maybe the weak nuclear force could be a little bit different, but even then that would be like a weird hypothetical. Like a very strange hypothetical. So that's a little bit weird. So it's certainly like physicists are looking for a unifying force. And even once we find a unifying force, the question is going to be why is that unifying force the way that it is? Because the only answer is going to be to create the four natural forces, but why would it want to create the four natural forces? It's probably just going to be like a natural force, so there's no want to a natural thing. So it would still be like reasonless, which gets a little bit tricky. It certainly plays into people's intuitions a bit. It feels unsatisfying to just say, oh, it's the wave function, or it was just inevitable. But, so that argument gets a little bit tricky. But the teleological argument, and any sort of evidential argument like that, I think is best refuted by just pointing out that the other evidence is not good. So like, why does the sun cause cancer if life needs it to survive? Because there's life or like microorganisms that don't get cancer caused by the sun. You have like photosynthesis or plants that can use the sun effectively. Why couldn't we just be like that? There's some weird things that seem a little bit weird if it was designed. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing with that argument. It just comes down to evidentialism, so it seems unsatisfying. You're not going to get a innate logical conclusion from that. Hey, what's up, Nitro Gold? How's it going? I'm doing fantastic. I'm alive. Every day I'm alive is a good day. Good you're back. Yeah, it's been a minute. I'm gonna try to start streaming regularly again as much as possible. Ultimately my job's super time consuming, but whenever I get spare time, I'll at least try to squeak in, 1 hour streams to 3 hour streams if possible. What do? I'm a plumber and a HVAC technician. Currently I'm doing new construction plumbing. I build houses or at least put the mechanical parts into houses, plumbing, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's pretty time consuming. I could mathematically convince you of God's existence. I would be open to that. I'm curious what the mathematical proof would be. That's an interesting one. I haven't really heard much. I would be interested in it because I don't think that there's a logical proof, so it would be weird to me that there'd be a mathematical proof, but I would be open to it. Can you name any laws in the universe that are given? I guess it would be like brute fact. Is that what you mean by given, or axiomatic, or just like self-evident? I would say the four natural forces: the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, self-evident. Yeah, the electromagnetic force, gravity. Like, I think in order to disprove gravity, you have to speak gravity into existence, or at least its definition into existence. And same thing with like the strong nuclear force. Because if particles are innately held together, you would have to like speak into existence that they're being held together still, just call it something else. So how many laws can a universe have? I mean, we have no reason. I'm a necessitarian, so I think the way our universe is just the way that it has to be. And I don't really believe in like the multi-universe principle. So I think it's just our universe it's for. I think a universe has to have four. I think if it's any other way, we have no reason to think that it could work. Maybe the one that could change is the weak nuclear force, but I think you would need to have it for the universe to exist for a length of time. But I don't know, maybe a physicist could argue against that. Between 0 and infinity, in my opinion, any law at all. Yeah, I just disagree. Like, I don't think you could get more fundamental forces. At least I have no reason to think so. Like, if you change the weak nuclear force, like, that's maybe the only one you could change to have reality, but that's a big old maybe. I still think no, because your reality would just collapse after, like, nanoseconds, probably. Like, you wouldn't get stars or anything. Like, you couldn't get people without the weak nuclear force. I guess it depends if you're, like, wanting, like, reality as we know it, or if you want, like, a consciousness-producing reality, or just reality in general. Because reality in general, I think you could get different realities, maybe, with different laws, but you're not going to produce consciousness in them. Unless there's a psychophysical force, which there could be, and that could be the unifying force, but that would just mean that there's one universal law. How about the universal law that states that neon signs are red and blue and red make purple? Are these laws? Not in like a physics sense, no. I don't think those are laws. Those are just observations. Would you prefer my reality? Hey, what's up, Rap Trap? I don't know. What's your reality? Maybe. Who knows? I might not. I don't know if there's different realities. I don't think so. So I think we're sharing the same one. But I don't know. But yeah, I think you need the four forces. I don't know how you get a universe without it. Actually, I don't think you can get a universe, because if you like lack the electromagnetic force, you just end up with inevitably um, inevitably moving away from each other particles. So you just end up on any given point, you're going to observe nothing or a lack of reality. Eventually, they're going to get so far apart. And same thing, if you don't have the strong nuclear force, that's like a guaranteed one you have to have for anything to exist anywhere at all. I was clinically dead for a minute when I was 19. Since then, I see ghosts. That is very interesting. I mean, I would reject that you're seeing ghosts in reality, but like, if that's your experience, that's your experience. I mean, is what it is. I wouldn't really prefer that reality personally, but if that's you, then cool. I mean, you might find it cool or you might find it burdensome. I don't know. So how many laws can a universe have if we include laws like red and blue will always make purple? I don't agree that that's a law. I think that's just an observation based on our senses. I have seen my nan who died in 2022. Well, that's cool. I mean, getting to see a loved one again would be pretty cool. So would you like my reality? Not necessarily. It would just restart the grieving process for me again. I think you need to grieve and move on with life. If you keep not grieving, that's not mentally healthy. Actually, you should probably go to a psychologist about that. It's not good. Grief's important, at least from what I understand psychologically. If you don't successfully get through grief, it can cause issues in your life. I accept death. Been to them how to made her cry because her dad came to see her. Been to them how to made her cry because her dad came to see her. Certain valence electron combination make colors. That's not a law. No. No. Your law or forces are gonna be like your I went to a psychiatrist and I made the psychiatrist cry because her dead dad came to see her. No, I would reject that that's a law. It's not a scientific law. If you mean axiomatic thing, I don't even think that's axiomatic logically. It's just an observation. Hopefully that makes more sense. That makes more sense. I mean, that's cool that that happened to you. I would say that that's good on you. I don't believe it, but I'm glad that you do. And I would just, I typically don't like to, if I can't verify something outside of my head, or if it's just other people's heads, then, I mean, I'm not a big fan of that. But I hope you find it a good life. I can concentrate my mind to see dead people, but it's not automatic in my opinion. Well, I will be right back in like 2 seconds. Okay, I'm back. Oh, my bad. So who is the older woman, gray hair, slim build, streamlined your jaw? She has a bent nose. I don't know, when this camera was on, there was an older woman behind him. She had like hazel or brownish eyes. I don't know anyone like that. And I don't know where we would have ever known anyone like that. This is a custom built home, so I mean, I promise you're not seeing something. It's not like your nose, you know, like your nose is flat. Her nose come out and then drop down. I don't know. Sounds, I'm not gonna say that. No, I'm not, I don't know. Hopefully, not anyone. Hopefully I'm alone. I hope so. It'd be creepy if I wasn't. Especially because, this is a custom built, like, home. No one's lived in it. Like, it'd be very, very weird if someone died here. Especially a woman. It would probably have to be a Mexican man that built that house. Anyway, philosophically speaking, how many laws can a universe have? Fundamental laws? It just depends on what you mean. In terms of like forces, there's 4 natural forces. potentially one single unifying force. It could be like a psychophysical unifying force, but that's kind of like new physics. We're not sure on that one yet. And the psychophysical force would be very, very strange, but like conceptually it works, but like, and that would mean that all realities could only have one force, which would be pretty groundbreaking if they find evidence of that. It's not to do with the home. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, what's up? What's your name, lady? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I think most likely there's going to be a unifying force we'll discover, and if not, we'll just always have the 4 natural forces. It's either 4 or 1. And if it's 1, everything derives from the 1. Hold my hand behind me. Slightly colder than the rest. No, it's a little bit hotter. I'm actually, like, in front of me is the AC vent. So, like, that's why I put my desk here, because it's hot as hell. Like, on that side of the room. There's another one in that corner. Like, if I hold my hand straight out in front of me, it gets pretty cold. It's actually cold where I'm sitting. Should be colder in one spot than another. Maybe. No. At least if it is, it's so little I can't tell. Tingling on the tips of my fingers. I'll hold my hand there for a couple minutes. Yes, I don't know. I'm not feeling nothing. No, I'm not feeling nothing. But that's also probably because that's not where the draft is in the room. Probably if I reach to my right, it would. No. It's odd. No, I don't really feel nothing with my hand. It's weird. You follow politics? I do follow politics. I've been doing philosophy a bit more lately, because I think a lot of the issues in our politics right now are anti-intellectualism, but so I'd rather be a little bit more fundamental. But yeah, I still follow politics. It's been a minute since I've dove into it fully. I've been trying to work on the campaign in my state. I'm trying to volunteer and stuff, so we'll see if that works out heading towards November. But philosophy is cool. Yeah, there are too many politics. They don't matter where you are. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of our problems right now are just due to anti-intellectualism. So I would rather focus on that. I think they're being caused by like either like the more far right people. That's proper English. Um, it doesn't really matter how like which side you're on. Like the far left people, I think, are adopting like post-structuralism and stuff. And then I think the far right people and like the MAGA movement in the United States has adopted anti-intellectualism as well. They've just adopted like a different form. I recently wrote a Reddit post about how to improve the economy. ChatGPT helped me. Well, hopefully ChatGPT didn't hallucinate, but yeah, it's probably a good one. Yeah, I've gotten a few recent economic studies and stuff just because I've had a couple of economists still pop into the stream and give me studies, and so I keep up with it sometimes. It's easy to tell all the rich people to give their money away. But yeah, I think that I think the economy, a lot of the studies I've seen recently, like, I think you need to fix the housing crisis. The housing is just a supply and demand problem, so you just need to build more houses. We're not building enough. Whether it's the government does it or private, you like incentivize private sector to do it. You reduce zoning laws, something of that nature to increase housing being built. That's one thing we need to do. The second thing would probably be raise interest rates a little bit to stop like bigger investors and house flippers from buying houses, or at least discourage people from using loans to flip houses. It'll force them to put more money down or like use just pay for it in cash if they're gonna flip. That'll increase your supply. It'll also just overall decrease the supply of money. Something else you could do to get the inflation under control is just raise taxes. Start getting some of the money back out of the economy. So that way we slow down a bit. Like probably if I got elected in the United States, one of the first things I would do is repeal the Trump tax cuts. Something of that nature. At least for the United States. Other countries, I think, have been a little bit better at keeping their debt under control. The United States has been pretty bad at austerity. I think we could model after Germany a little bit more, but my dad was telling me that when he bought his first house, it took him 1 year to buy it outright. Yeah, wages haven't kept up with homes. It's just because we haven't been building enough homes since 2008. In 2008, most of the independent builders went out of business, so there's just not as much people building now. You need more people building, and people aren't going into the trades, which is causing prices to go up. You need more plumbers, electricians, HVAC techs. You also need more sawmills and sawmill workers. But it's not clear how you do that. Because most of the people in the United States don't want to do that job. Because it's all hard work. I mean, no one wants to do it. Especially if you get rid of immigration as well. It gets really tough because now really no one wants to do it. So you're almost going to have to force people to do it. Or adopt anti-intellectualism and make everyone stupid so they have to work those jobs instead of want to work them. So I'm a first and second fix carpenter myself. Hell yeah. Building America's future, or building the world's future. Yeah, I'm a plumber and a HVAC tech. I'm currently a new construction plumber, so. And the next thing I'm going to focus on is sheet metal, so that way I could dual trade, be both HVAC and plumbing, and be a all-in-one like mechanical contractor. But yep. And even for me to go into carpentry, I need to have like 15,000 just in tools before I can even start carpenters on a site. Yeah. Oh yeah, I get it. Like a plumbing job, like for me, well, you have some bigger ones that you need because you need if you're providing them, you're going to need to provide a table saw, a generator probably if it's new construction, and you're going to need to provide like a set of like air powered like nail guns, or the battery powered ones, which the battery powered ones seem to be ass. So I'm a math tutor. You guys make the economy go around. Yeah, I mean it definitely without new construction people, houses don't get built, and then we'd really be expensive houses. So for us, we can't go into carpentry on a site without our own tools. Yep. I mean, I probably have like, I don't know, I probably have about the same amount in tools. I probably have like 15 to 20,000 in tools. I mean, and that's to be new construction. If you want to do service plumbing, you need like a jetter, a sewer camera, and an auger, which those are going to run you like $100,000. And if you want to fix underground stuff, you need a backhoe. So you're going to at least have to pay a rental fee for a backhoe. And that assumes you're like a journeyman running your own crew, or is like a subcontractor, or running your own business. Maybe we could lower taxes on lumber companies. That's an option. You could encourage lumber mills. You could also just plant more trees. That way they have more stuff to cut down. That's an option. Or you could make it a public good, because we desperately need wood for everything in the United States. So you could have the government set a price ceiling and a price floor, and like keep lumber mills operational even when they're struggling. That way carpenters and carpentry costs stay down, which is going to be the bulk of your price. That and concrete. Concrete's a similar issue. So you could subsidize concrete and give them tax breaks, or cut their taxes during hard times. I'm sure they have plenty of trees to choose from in the Northwest. No, actually. It's actually why wood is worse than what it used to be. Like houses now are literally built worse because the wood is worse. Because we've cut down most of the old trees, and the remaining old trees are all in protected areas. The trees that are cutting down are usually younger. They're like 40 years old or 80 years old. So, like, the wood has more knots in it from the branches. So if you have a bunch of young trees that you're cutting down, like young pine trees, they're going to be worse quality wood and have a bunch of weak points in them, which means that there's way more waste. And like carpenters, when they get a load, are going to waste a lot of the wood that they get. Because you just can't use it. There's too many knots. Or if you do use it, it's like gonna crack and suck. So what I think your taxes should be based on is your qualifications. Yeah, maybe. Price ceilings make shortages in quantity. Yeah, it's hard to say what we should do to address it. I mean, you could just simply lower their taxes, but if it's too slow, or they don't have enough demand or enough wood, they're still not gonna be able to make it even with lower taxes. So they're gonna have to shut down. they need revenue coming in. So the question is, what do you do? Do you just have the government stockpile wood, maybe? Like, if builders aren't buying it, the government steps in and buys it until, you know, you go back to normal demand for housing. It's hard to say. And then the government releases that supply to, like, suppliers. It's hard to say. But somehow you have to address the shortage in wood. Like, now they need houses, so taxes for people like me should be lower. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea. Allow immigration, take the tariff off wood. I mean, that's a start for sure. If we could get some of the older wood from Canada, that would help and not have to pay tariffs on it. That would be fantastic. That would be an obvious first step, but, you know, that ain't gonna happen right now, unfortunately. Like, for me, I would have no problem going into carpentry on a site, but I can't. I don't earn enough money to buy tools to go into it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a big issue. I mean, there's just not enough in it. And a tax break helps, but ultimately you just need the demand and revenue. But that's the thing. Like, carpenters in most areas get screwed on pay. A lot of it's, like, my area doesn't even have a carpenters union. Or, like, a structural union. We have the plumbers union, the HVAC union, or sheet metal worker union. The HVAC technicians are part of plumbing. And the Boilermakers is a union. But, yeah, that's the big issue with carpentry, is that it just kind of gets screwed. Any new ideas on the economy? I don't know if I have much new. I mean, I've had a couple interesting studies shown to me that, like, the owner of a company has a lot more stake or control over the company than originally thought. Like, you know, if someone retires or passes their company on to their kids, the odds of the company going out of business dramatically go up. And that wasn't data we had previously, which suggests that you need, like, the CEOs that you have. So it kind of disproves some of the, like, more socialist thought that, like, CEOs are just useless. So that kind of made me like, oh, we probably don't need worker cooperatives, or they probably wouldn't work the way people think they do. They probably only work if your company starts as a worker cooperative. If you try to make an existing one a cooperative, it's going to fail. So that was an interesting study I saw. I also saw something that the Laffer curve, which is the total amount of taxes you could collect from the economy, is lower than originally thought. So before, they thought you could get like 60% taxes before you started ruining or like driving down your economy. But now they think it's more like 50%. So, you know, I think that that's an interesting thing I learned. So there's a couple new things that, you know, maybe taxes they're not the main thing that you can get revenue from. You're going to have to find other ways to get revenue other than taxes, which is, how the hell do you do that? You could have the government start selling stuff like a business maybe, but the question is, what are they going to get involved with and start selling? So, but yeah, that's an interesting one. Like, maybe does the government start building and running amusement parks for profit or something? I don't know. But yeah, that's a weird one. I recently came across something interesting with Google AI. Yeah, what's that? Do I dare ask, how do you think you can improve the healthcare system? No ban evasion, please. Quit advertising. Thank you. Yeah, I think the healthcare system, I think you generally have two options. Option one is you could like ban health insurance, like ban health insurance companies, but then it's going to kind of like throw everything into chaos. That could straight up like collapse our system. So at least in the United States, I don't know if that's a viable option. Your other option is to start moving towards socialized healthcare. Because I think healthcare has an issue. If any good or commodity has unlimited demand or unlimited supply, it's going to struggle in the free market. So healthcare is one of those things that it just has unlimited demand. So it's not clear how you can like make a perfect system for it. But probably the free market's not going to do it. You could try, but it would require like a complete reset, and it would probably destroy the country for a while, which I guess is what a lot of anarchists and libertarians want to do. So maybe that's what you want to do if that's up your alley. But if you're more like liberal in nature, or like I guess reasonable, or believe in the government should exist in some form, then probably you need to socialize medicine. It's just a question of what should the system look like once you socialize it. You know, but yeah, I think you can't have fully private systems when demand is unlimited. The market only works if supply and demand can meet each other. So if that doesn't happen, it's not going to work. Like, it's even the case with like food, by the way. Like, farmers are in a crisis right now. And a lot of the reasons why they're in a crisis is just because like growing food is so straightforward. Like if you like a farmer can feed a whole can feed their whole like local area for like a year with one successful harvest. So if you have like even a few thousand farmers, you're going to way overproduce what you need, just inevitably, because food is so abundant. Like a majority of our food just goes to like oil and making different products. So we literally have to waste food because we make too much. So that's an example where like on the supply side, it's way too easy to make. So you actually need the government to step in and help the producers or the farmers. Otherwise, they're going to go out of business. So that's an example where the consumer doesn't need help. The farmers need help. See, for me, I live in Ireland. We can have the HSE. I know that the HSE is a craft, but yeah, I think they are a pile of crap. Healthcare can be improved by having AI compare healthcare plans, by easily comparing prices for value via an AI built into healthcare.gov. Competition emerges, lowering prices. Otherwise, you don't know what you're paying for among plans. I mean, that only helps a little bit. Most people's plans are already fairly, like, paid for. Like, most people are going to get their stuff from their employer. So you only solve a portion of the issue with that. And there's still going to be some added expense from bureaucracy built into that. And now you're going to have to pay for the AI data that's using as well. So now you just offset that expense. So, I mean, that could improve it for some people, like particularly people that are going to like use the US's private health insurance or like the public health insurance, but it's not going to solve the total. It's going to maybe make a slight dent, but it's hard to say. And also, prices don't usually go down like that. It's unless you straight up ban the companies driving up the prices, they're not going to go down. They're just going to like stabilize a bit. So it's still going to leave very expensive healthcare for decades. Like, would you like to know how bad the HSE in my country is? Yeah. But yeah, I think you could improve healthcare through a variety of means. You could just make it straight up single payer, probably the most efficient, but that's a difficult transition. It's also a hard sell because most people like their current plans or are very skeptical if you actually explain single payer healthcare, that you would have to pay like a healthcare tax, and then it gets like, okay, well, I might as well just pay my premiums I'm paying now. You know, it gets tougher to sell that to people. I went to my GP about a problem in my back. She sent me to get an MRI. The HSE sent me away 3 days later. I went back to them after my leg was going numb. They did an MRI and said I need to have surgery. Oh. Yeah, that's not good. I mean, that's one issue in healthcare in general that everyone's having is just struggling with resources. But honestly, that's in the United States too. That's literally everywhere because no one wants to be a doctor or nurse. So how fucked is the HSE? I think you're probably experiencing roughly the same as a lot of other countries. It sounds like your general practitioners or your family medicine doctors could be improved, and your like preventative care. So like the best systems in the world, I think it was like the Netherlands was one of the best, and it's because they do so much for preventative care. Like if you're gonna have a single payer system, if you want free healthcare, I think you need to make it a requirement that you like have to go to the doctor every 3 months. I think that's a really good idea because you can catch a lot of problems and prevent it from overwhelming your hospital system. So that's why like the Netherlands and stuff have lower wait times, because they do a very, very good job at preventing stuff, while a lot of other places don't do a good job at it. Like the United States is okay at it. That's just because health insurance companies benefit from people being a little bit healthier. But even then, most of the time, they don't even care about the preventative care. They'll just straight up deny you. They won't even like prevent you from paying your premiums altogether. They'll just like, once you need it, they'll just straight up deny you. They'll say it's pre-existing. You got to go through a fight to get your stuff covered. So, or they'll only cover 50%. It's just dumb. Countries that require you to go to a doctor, like a family medicine doctor first or a general practitioner, typically do better than countries that require you to like, oh, you have to be recommended to a specialist and all this. So it's like if they did the MRI the first time, I wouldn't have lost feeling in my leg and foot. Yeah, absolutely. That's an example of like overwhelmed hospital systems. It sucks. I noticed with the help of ChatGPT that a 4% wealth tax raises $600 billion. Half that money could go towards education. The other $300 billion could go towards lowering the corporate tax. Lowering the corporation tax increases earnings, and coupled with a 20 PE ratio, stock market gain an additional $6 trillion in value, so the rich get richer and we get ours. I'm not a big fan of the wealth tax because what you just described there, the stock market gain, is also a sign of inflation. I think what you encourage with a wealth tax is you literally just encourage people to liquidate their assets and put them into more liquid assets. So like you actually encourage people to like sell their real estate, sell their homes, move money out of their savings accounts if you start wealth taxing. You force them to sell assets which are less liquid, which is going to cause a bunch of inflation. Also, with the wealth tax, it seems just not great because you're not taxing like final product, you're just taxing every asset you have, which makes it like really, really tough to like plan as a business owner. Like, I feel like you're going to screw over a lot of business owners. It's just hard to say, though. Also, it's a bulging disc. Lol, I have surgery this Thursday. Ooh. Well, you know what? I think the bulging disc, though, I think those surgeries have come a long way. So hopefully that goes well for you. Hey, what's up, Space Shuttle? Good to see you again. Yeah, I think that I don't know, how we raise money gets pretty tricky. I think a value-added tax is probably your best way to go, but I think traditional taxes, I think we're about at our cap, which I think would also include wealth taxes. Because what's just going to happen is people are going to liquidate their, hopefully we'll just want to get it finished at this point, yeah. Hopefully you can. I know that's a problem in a lot of places. Not those are rich who own many, only those are rich who have no wishes left, my Jedi friend. Sick quote. But yeah, I don't know. I think the Laffer curve, there's a really good study on it, but it's lower than originally thought. So like, I think that it's gonna be like a really tough problem to get out of the debt situation that we're in the United States. Like, you just have to max the Laffer curve, so you have to tax at like 50%, 55%. And then you have to start doing like, you probably have to do a value-added tax as well. And that's just a really hard sell to people. The other option is just cut everything, but that's also a really hard sell. So we're almost trapped. We're running out of time. We probably have a few years left to fix it. So, at least in the United States. I know there's a few other countries as well that have struggled with debt, but we also don't know how big the debt could get. Like, there's a theoretical limit, but the United States, like modern monetary theorists would say the United States is so huge and global that we could probably eat even more trouble. I don't know. It's hard to say. That works. We are in debt trouble. I think we might be. It's hard to say. We really don't know how far it's going to go, like, until we're in, like, a hyperinflation loop. We could already be in a hyperinflation loop. We could be at the beginning of it because the market is way overinflated from where it should be right now. So, like, people are not giving up on buying stocks, even though they absolutely logically should right now. So it's really hard to say. We could already be in like a debt cycle that's not possible to fix, but ultimately it's just speculation. It's unfortunately a thing, until we see an economy as big as the United States with fiat currency go down, we don't have an example of it. So it's like a thing where we would have to watch and wait until the U.S. collapses till we figure it out, which is a really scary thought. Little poorness is best, rich enough to cover your basic needs, but still something to work for. Yeah, I agree. That's what I strive for. I'm trying to just get, you know, a decent chunk of wealth and then stop there. You know, the investment I do is heading towards just being able to live comfortably. It's easy. Every country forgive everyone's debt. Well, the issue is countries are in debt to themselves. So it's not that simple. The United States would have to forgive its own debt, which we don't know how that would work. Or then you get into a hyperinflation loop. That's the problem. Because, like, if we forgive debt, it sets the standard to borrowers that they can just keep borrowing and it'll just be forgiven. So it'll cause a hyperinflation loop, at least in theory. It's not really possible to say exactly what would happen, but it's just one of those things. Like, until it does, we won't know. Like, we honestly would have to observe it in, like, another country, but even then they're not going to be the same as the United States. So, and we have observed, like, the collapse of, like, Argentina and Zimbabwe. That's where they get their current numbers from, but we've never seen an economy as big as the United States go through it. So we're approaching the limits that Zimbabwe and Argentina reached, but it's hard to say if we'll reach the same fate or not. It's just a scary thought. We're kind of running out of time. We're either going to need to commit and just YOLO it and just hope we don't collapse, or we're going to have to, like, fix it if we don't want to find out. So we're kind of running out of time to make a decision. So, I mean, at this point, either cut taxes super low and just commit and spend, or just, well, it's going to have to be forgiven or the country could go bankrupt. Well, that's the issue. You get into you don't want to reach that point. You need to pay the debt back. If you reach the point where you just have to basically file bankruptcy as a nation again and again, you're in a hyperinflation loop, right? Oh, I've borrowed all this money. Oh, now all the banks have their stuff forgiven. They have a fresh slate with the Federal Reserve. So I'm just going to borrow a shit ton again and just double my wealth real quick. So you just end up in an inflation loop. Like, I don't see how you could forgive your debt without causing economic collapse. Everyone would panic, especially in the United States. We saw Japan get through a collapse, but that's because the Eastern culture is much more like do what's best or just be more reserved, so the media didn't cause panic and cause a bank run. The United States would panic and cause a bank run, so I don't know how you would stop it. And I think a lot of European countries, same thing would happen. Like, the European media would do the same thing. They would cause panic and cause a bank run. Like, your culture would have to be right to forgive your debt. Like, you would almost have to have a very authoritarian government. Like, you'd have to live in a more authoritarian nation that could... Like, Russia got away with it. Like, they survived the massive tariffs we put on them. Because they're authoritarian enough, they could just be like, well, we're just going to steal property and, like, you're just going to do stuff. You're going to use our currency still and you're going to like it. Like, you have to have a very authoritarian approach to make that work, which is not palatable to Americans or Europeans. Maybe, like, Far East Europeans, like Hungary or, like, Russia or something, would be open to that, and it worked in Japan, but I don't know how that would work in the United States. It didn't even work in, like, Zimbabwe or Argentina, and, so we haven't really seen that, so hopefully we don't find out. Hopefully we get a better president here in the United States. Hopefully we see a wave of liberals again instead of these, like, anti-intellectual dipshits. Hopefully we get some people that actually know a little bit about economics and can come to a decision on what we're going to do, if we're going to just commit to the debt or if we're going to try to clear it and we're just going to have to sacrifice for a good 10 or 20 years to get it back to a reasonable level. So, I don't know. We'll see. because we're also going to have to convince citizens to take higher taxes, which is a very tough sell for politicians. No one wants to be the politician that runs on raising your taxes. So, like, not even Democrats right now in the United States are willing to take that stance. Like, I think in my area, the Democrats are even running on lowering taxes. Like, it's just not going to happen. That's what one of the things I'm doing with this channel is. Hopefully people can, like, think a little bit harder and, like, not think things are so simple. Because if you do, and you're just like, tax is bad, you know, you get into the situation we're in now. Unfortunately. So, you have to think a little bit higher than that. So, and it's the same thing if you're, and it goes both ways. Like, if you're fundamentally, like, too libertarian or too capitalistic, you kind of run into the problem. And if you're too, like, socialist, you run into the same thing, because it's just, like, rich people bad, but you end up, like, causing economic issues. Oh, and that was actually another study I found. Populist movements, both on the right wing and left wing, there's a couple studies. They both destroy economies. So, like, that whole populist thinking is innately bad. So whether it's like the far left communist populists, like your Hassan Piker types or people like that, or your like far right Trump types, they're both like very bad for your economy. There's actually new data on it. Because like we got data from Argentina, I think El Salvador, a couple African countries, and even from the United States with Trump right now, and like states that have more far left people, they tend to destroy your economy. So both far left and far right populists do it. So really you have to be careful not to get tricked by populists. Another way to stop debt is to lose power everywhere, no more electricity. Well, that would do it. That would stop a lot of things. That would definitely stop a lot of things. If you just said, fuck it, no more power, I mean, you would definitely lose a lot of things. A lot of people would be out of work. A lot of power plants would have to run on idle. The way you can't ask for loans, etc., etc. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You could just ban debt. Like, no one's allowed to take more debt for a while. But the government would still need to take debt is the issue. So, and then you would collapse your economy because economy requires growth. So it's not clear how you would grow without debt. So you would likely see collapse that way too. It's really hard to say. I don't know. It's a really tricky situation. It's unfortunate that we're in it, and a lot of countries are in it. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we fix it. Maybe we don't. I hope we do. I hope that I hope we get some better people in here. That's the goal. I'm trying to be more locally involved, so hopefully we can get Amy Acton elected in Ohio. Hopefully we can get some more liberal people elected. We'll see. We'll see. But I don't know. It's kind of concerning me. It seems like people are doubling down on populism. The left wing is just electing people like Mamdani, which I'm not innately opposed to more radical left wing people, but it seems like we're just doubling down on them. And then the only issue is that they tend to be populists, and populists tend to suck. So, you know, if they weren't populist in nature, then it would be a little bit better. But I think Mamdani is actually pretty good at that. I think he's just fairly straightforward and just appealing to what practically works. So, I don't know. It just kind of gets tricky. I think you just ultimately need to make sure liberals we just need to go back to would you like to trade your cow for my house? Well, Yeah, I mean, bartering is fine, but there's a reason we developed currency. It's because bartering was inefficient. So you would just have a more inefficient economy, and you'd probably redevelop money again. Like, that's one issue I take with socialists, is that they tend to think you can have a moneyless society. I think you're going to redevelop money if you try to axe it. Like, if you try to barter, the reason why we develop money is because, like, if you imagine, like, there's like a famous example, like I think John Locke gave it for contractarianism, but he gave the example of like the apple tree and a mango tree. Like, if you have an apple tree and your neighbor has a mango tree, the only way without money to get the mangoes is to basically make a contract of giving them apples first. So, like, I have to lug over 2 bushels of apples to get 2 sacks of mangoes from you. It just makes more sense that eventually you would go to get the mangoes and you'd be like, I don't feel like getting my apples over here right now. I'm going to give you this gold that's objectively valuable, or I'm going to give you this currency that's backed by an independent third party, like either the government or a bank, and you can go there to come get my apples from me whenever you want. I just don't feel like lugging them to you. So it's just like an inevitable thing. If 2 logical agents interact with each other, they're going to come up with money. Or some type of like banknote, something like that. It's just inevitable. So just keep that in mind. I think money's inevitable. Yeah, but then there's no more debt. Well, actually, there still is debt. We actually have historical examples of bartering debt. Like, I can't get that like wheat you want right now, but like, there's the example of like hunters and farmers interacting. Like, in the winter, hunters are more valuable, and in the summer and spring, farmers are more valuable. So basically, like, the farmer needs to get meat from the hunter to live when he can't grow crops. And then the hunter, when he's struggling to catch and successfully hunt, needs food from the farmer. So you inevitably have to have debt. So like, the farmer's going to have to be like, if you give me like 5 deer to get through the winter to feed my family, I'll promise you I'll give you 5 sacks of wheat or whatever, like 20 sacks of wheat when spring rolls around and I can grow my wheat. So you even have debt during like pre-antiquity, like ancient societies. You would still have debt where you would just have a contract or agreement between 2 parties. And usually there's going to be interest accrued, like the hunter is going to want a little bit of extra something. So interest actually even exists without money. Like, he's going to want, like, normally he would only want like 15 bags of wheat. He's going to want 20 to give you meat that he needs right now. It's extra valuable. So that's the thing. Like, money is just inevitable. And like, people think about debt as innately tied to money. It's not. Debt and money are separate concepts. They're going to exist even if you get rid of one or the other. So basically, mankind is fucked. Well, it's just we have to manage debt as much as we need to. That's all there is. And some countries do a better job at it than others. Like, there's some countries, like Germany has historically done a good job at being economically austerous, or basically having like a good control of their money supply. The United States has been bad in recent times. We just kind of lost ourselves a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, it gets a little bit tricky when you start analyzing economic theory. It's like, debt is inevitable, money is inevitable, like, it kind of gets odd. Like, that's the thing with like the ultra-libertarian types or the socialist types. Like, they just like try to get rid of this concept that's inevitable. And I don't know, maybe you get some hyper futuristic accelerationist dude that's like, AI will save us or whatever, or we'll just destroy society and let the god AI rule us. So, who knows? I think we'll get debt under control. Or actually, what will just happen is we'll just kind of go through a little bit of a reset. Just the countries that were able to keep their debt under control are going to be the new, like, higher powered countries, and the ones that didn't will just kind of reset, and, like, you'll see economic collapse, and they'll be forced to try again. So, it's not that mankind's fucked, it's just that we'll go through kind of like a new, like, little recession period, and who knows how long it'll last. Maybe it'll be like 20 years or whatever, and 40 years. We'll see. But I don't know. There's a lot to economics. It's not as simple as people make it out to be. So, I don't know. Anyway, I think I am going to wrap up stream. This one's going to be a shorter one. I'm just trying to get in streams whenever I can. I appreciate everyone coming out today, but I do need to wrap up. So, I got to do my reading for the day and my music practice. We will get debt under control in the year 5074. I hope that is a false prediction, but we'll see. Maybe the U.S. will be like $20 quadrillion in debt, and we'll still be. Who knows? Hopefully that won't happen, but we'll see. Anyway, appreciate everyone coming out. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Go ahead and join the Discord if you're not at it. The link's in the description. Follow if you're on Twitch. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. Or hit the follow button if you're on TikTok. And, yeah, everyone.